Excessive focus on the future is probably the most common obstacle in cultivating mindful awareness. Our default mode is usually a doing model, constantly striving to reach results, milestones, targets, and goals. But the truth is, they are just a waste of our time. And here's why. Hi again. Welcome back to Earthshine Collective. My name is Liz, and we are here to support your conscious evolution with our Emotional Wellbeing series. As we deepen our understanding of the role of mindfulness in improving our emotional awareness, we witness the confusion that arises when we challenge our beliefs about goals. Why do we set goals in the first place? For starters, setting goals provides structure and clarity. They determine the direction of our actions and the time and attention needed to manifest them. Reaching a goal can also be very motivating since it strengthens our belief in our own abilities and self-efficacy. Whatever the case may be, the one thing that all goals have in common is that they set expectations for the future. Yet, achieving our goals depends greatly on our ability to track our progress, as this monitoring keeps resources mobilized towards reaching our objectives, all the while reducing distractions. And this is where the rubber meets the road, because those distractions are fundamental to our well-being as they color our life with connection and fulfillment, such as the moments we spend with family and friends, taking time for the occasional self-indulgence, or pursuing creative endeavors and hobbies. When we set too many expectations, an imbalance occurs between our goals, which are in the future, and the path we chose towards achieving those goals, which is the present moment. How do we notice this imbalance? When we let our expectations about a later outcome dominate our lives and have our minds constantly busy strategizing about how we can move closer to those goals. Here are a few perspectives that will help you come into alignment with this mindset. Number one, goals are ineffective. We set goals or expectations to achieve something we either do not have or we do not have enough of. For example, say we want to set the very popular goal of losing weight. The moment we set that goal, a discrepancy or gap between how things are now and how they should be in the future widens. So in order to achieve that goal, we need to close the gap between the present and the expected future. But that quest is not always successful, is it? In fact, it's quite the opposite. Have you ever tried really hard to fall asleep only to find yourself more alert than before? Why is that? One reason is that too much focus on our goals makes us more aware not only of the goals, but also the fact that we have not yet reached them. We are highly aware of the gap between the here and now, I'm awake, and the desired goal state, I want to sleep. When we say that we're not making progress enough to close that gap, say we notice that we're still awake, this can make us feel frustrated, creating even more tension or resistance on our way to achieving the goal of falling asleep or closing the gap. Another reason why goals are ineffective is that when we are fully immersed in reaching specific goals, our energy is no longer available to take action in the present moment. Imagine that your goal is to write a good article. While writing, you are constantly occupied with the goal of finishing the piece, how important it is to finish it, what will this mean when you do, what you still need to do to finish it, and what will you do after finishing it. Thus, instead of directing your attention to the present moment, you spend it thinking about the goal of finishing it. See the difference? This gap is where life happens, which leads us to reason number two. Goals are about the future. And the thing about the future is that it isn't real. It is simply a mental construct, as we can only imagine the next now moment in our minds. In fact, thinking about the future is also happening in the now. Even if the future will eventually occur, it can only happen in a moment that will be the next now moment, which will be the present moment then. Mind-bending, huh? Reality can only be experienced in this moment, this space-time. When we set too many goals or expectations, we resist the unfolding of the now, validating the belief that the present moment is never good enough to be experienced as is. This moment in itself will never meet our expectations or be as important as the goals we are trying to reach. We'll see it as nothing more than a tool to move forward towards the goals we want to achieve. The more we strive to achieve a goal, the more our attention is distracted from the full experience the here and now can give us. The old adage, "Life is about the journey, not the destination," illustrates this idea flawlessly. Whatever is unfolding for you right now, it's happening for a reason, for you would not experience it otherwise. Yet, if you perceive what is happening as being directly relevant to a specific goal, it's easy to judge it as pointless and dismiss it. The conversation with a colleague about their weekend might not be relevant for achieving the goal of writing that report today. However, the conversation may be valuable in other ways. For instance, it may improve your relationship with this colleague and contribute to a better working atmosphere, improving your mood and sense of camaraderie at work. Or perhaps it can bring you some insight that ultimately enhances your writing skills. Reason number 3, goals are desires we wish to experience. When we focus too much on something that only exists in our imagination, like the future, we create a limited view of what the next now moment can bring and quickly fail to recognize the value of experiencing this moment. And since our expectations can only reflect what our mind can conceive, they limit the potential avenues in which our desires may arrive. The paradox here is that this spotlight focus creates a treadmill effect, where we're constantly moving our focus from one goal to another. There will always be the next goal to reach, then the next, and the next. We are no longer living in the present, but for the future. And because the future is just an illusion, spending too much time in our heads overthinking it creates the breeding ground for the next reason why you will never achieve your goals. And that is reason number 4. Goals lead to anxiety and worry. When we set goals, we experience a lot of pressure to perform well, mainly if they affect those around us or their perception of us. We worry about failing, being seen as imperfect or inadequate because we cannot complete our to-do list, don't have the mental or emotional bandwidth to deal with steep learning curves or unwanted consequences. Worry creeps in more often when we set vague goals such as, "I want to be productive" or "I want to be successful," because it holds expectations that cannot be matched. We do this quite often. We set goals, say, "I would like to be more mindful," but we're less equipped to identify the concrete intermediate steps we need to take to reach that goal, such as, "I'll start waking up a half an hour earlier each day to practice." It's not that we don't know what to do, but that most of the time we feel frustrated by the details, which are the actionable steps we can take towards getting what we want, because they make us perceive that goal as much more far-fetching. We already debunked the idea of multitasking in the previous video, so if you can only fully focus on one thing at a time, when we give our attention to the details, we can easily lose sight of our goal. So what do we do to speed things up? We start taking shortcuts. And since we live in a society whose collective belief instills a sense of urgency, we find ourselves skipping steps that are essential for realizing our desires and grow organically. When we lack consistency, we look for instant gratification, lose weight fast, get that work done by yesterday, be confident and wealthy now. And sure, achieving something even through shortcuts can lead to temporary happiness. But the moment we achieve that goal, we're already busy with the next thing, which brings us to our final point. Reason number 5. Goals won't bring happiness. Have you ever noticed how we often do not pause on our way to achieve a goal and don't spend too much time savoring our accomplishments either? This hedonic adaptation, which allows us to quickly adapt to new situations even if we are adverse to change, is also why when we are constantly unsatisfied, question our willingness and ability to realize our desires in time or at all. We set goals because we believe that achieving them will will make us happy or happier, either by promoting a positive state or reducing a negative one. Yet, once we reach them, once we have the big house or the new relationship or that promotion at work, those goals become the new baseline state. For instance, when we finally get the new house, we quickly become used to it and start taking it for granted. What was once a goal now belongs to our everyday reality. So we get busy with new goals, such as designing a beautiful garden, decluttering, or renovating the kitchen. The dissatisfaction never seems to end. Yet, if goals play a crucial role in giving us a sense of direction in life, how can we manage our expectations and set conscious goals instead? Stick around for the following video and we will show you how. In the meantime, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey towards living a more conscious life. See you next week.